Hey guys, I just wanted to start this podcast by telling you how great it is that my crazy idea of a podcast being taken by other people and proved to be a working format is crazy. Smiley face. I can't believe others would take my idea and steal my spotlight. XD lol JK. Anyway, on with the podcast. Hey, welcome to the Podcat Potcast. We're going to start by looking ahead at what's coming up next month on the podcast. Next month, the podcast will have reached a milestone. That's right, we've had enough episodes to achieve a pretty remarkable milestone. Also next month on the podcast is creating a Lifetime Achievement Award to recognise those who have contributed in their lifetime in a capacity that is worth being given such a reward. Also next month on the podcast is proud to announce the first winner of the Lifetime Achievement Award, the Podcat Potcast. I've written a 756-page acceptance speech and I can't wait for you all to hear it. Finally, next month on the podcast is sad to announce the Lifetime Achievement Award is being discontinued due to the only worthy winner having won it already. And as such, they are declared the Universal Forever Lifetime Champion of the World, Universe, and Multiverse. This episode of the Podcat Potcast is brought to you by Rolling's Puzzles. No one else would take the sponsorship for some reason, but we know deep down everyone loves them because of how many were posted in the Facebook groups recently. Alright, we're going to start with the spoilers of the month. That's right, we got some spoilers again, and we're going to start with our first spoiler, read by Eureka.
All right, we've got Onion Knight from the recently revealed. I don't remember what the name of this one is, but it's the Final Fantasy III like dual starter deck, kind of like the Heroes and Villains thing. It's
Knight.
Yeah, that one, and it's going to be coming in Opus 10. I think that comes out sometime in like September. Pretty neat. It's a 3 CP light forward 7K. It's job Onion Knight, but not like the name Onion Knight. It's a different Onion Knight. Just trust me. It's got the DFF and 3 categories, and when it deals damage to your opponent, you can search for one card name, Onion Knight, and add it to your hand. The first S is something equivalent to Blade Flurry, and it gets plus 1,000 power, haste, first strike, and brave until the end of the turn. The second S is just a copy of itself at dull. Choose a forward and deal it damage equal to Onion Knight's power.
Alright, and the second spoiler is going to be read by me. My spoiler is not a Zero Class Cadet, because come the fuck on screen, let's get together! Alright, Nado, next spoiler please.
The other one is Cloud of Darkness, also from the same Wraith and Knight. Yeah, Wraith and Knight deck, coming in Opus X. Gonna give it to you. I'm not reading all of this. Anyway, it's a 3 CP Dark Forward, also 7K job. It's job Wraith, right?
It's job Wraith.
Yeah. Same titles, DFF and 3. At the end of your turn, remove the top card of your deck from the game. Cloud of Darkness gains plus 1k power for each card removed from play by her effect. When Cloud of Darkness is removed from the field, choose one card that was removed from the game by her effect and add it to your hand. Put the rest of the cards in the break zone.
And the final spoiler is going to be read by Zeon.
I would like to go to bed now.
Oh, Zeon is going to bed. So, Esfer, if you could read this one.
Yeah, so the next spoiler is Vincent from Opus, the next Opus, which is Opus 01899988199911972253. It's a 3 CP Earth Forward, 7k power. It's actually also the full art promo for a pre-release as well, so it'd be really easy to get this. Job Gunslinger, which doesn't matter. And he's got a bit of a weird effect, which is when Vincent enters the field, you may put one backup you control into the break zone, and after that, when you do so, choose one dull forward and deal 8,000 damage. And then he's got an S ability called Zoom, which is S, 1 Earth, and 1 normal CP. And then it's just choose one backup, cost 3 or more, break it. So basically Hecaton Chair as well. His ability is phrased very badly, I think, which might be a thing to talk about.
Debatable.
So I think the intention is for it to be two different, to be an auto ability that then generates another auto ability.
Another auto ability, yeah.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say shit translation.
I mean, we don't have an original Japanese, so I can't clarify that. But I actually think it's not a shit translation, and it's just the first linking auto abilities that's coming into the game. But
so the way this reads, right? You put a backup you control into the break zone, and then they can activate after that, and then it fizzles, right?
So the way that it reads, to me at least, and I mean, I'm not the judge authority here, but it's. You put the backup in, and then when it resolves, you put the choose one dull forward onto the stack as a separate auto ability.
Okay. That makes it a bit risky than an if one though, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it means that you can put a backup in even if you don't have a target.
Okay, no, that's good.
Yeah, that's just how I read it. I mean, like, it could just be shit translation. We don't know, but like,
yeah, but I can use it to clear off like spent Marlenes and shit like that, which is pretty cool.
yeah, exactly.
So, Yurki, you want to start with whatever spoilers you want to talk about?
I want to talk about Onion Knight because I think it's way more interesting than the Cloud of Darkness. I think that the Onion Knight is kind of getting to the point where maybe there's going to be something like Lightning was in chapters, where you can obviously not super competitive, but you can run a deck with a lot of one character name and kind of like make the Onion Knight deck. Kind of like in chapters, there was Lightning's ability to discard a copy of herself, exile her, and then grab a different or the same Lightning from exile and replay her to the field. So basically what her Opus 5 Legend does, but as many times as you want, as long as you still have copies of her. And then you can like shift through different effects that the Lightnings have. Yeah, with this one can't like obviously chain the Legend Onion Knight, but like being able to tutor extra Onion Knights and then use S's with each other, like this obviously synergizes pretty well with the Legend Onion Knight.
It's weird that it's not Job Ninja. Like, I feel like it's because Legend Onion Knight comes in the deck too.
Yeah, I don't think that if it was Job Onion Knight, I think there would be balance issues. Like, honestly, just because you could, any deck with Wind could then play both of these at like no cost. Whereas like right now, Onion Knight is pretty damn well roped into Lightning Wind because of the shit. I mean, obviously that's not 100% true because we saw that Wind Water deck with Onion Knight like just yesterday.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that they don't want to make like widely splashable good stuff, except for Y'shtola.
It's I don't know if it's good enough as a light forward, but maybe there's something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that at the very least, this is a very interesting title card where obviously having multiple cards with the same name is way more feasible.
Yeah.
And the fact,
how many Onion Knights do we have? We have 3 Wind ones.
This will be and
the light one.
I believe we have Opus 1 Light, this one, Lightning Light, the 4-drop Ninja one, and the Legend one. So we have 2 Wind ones, 1 Lightning one, and 2 Light. 3 wins.
One in the Opus 8.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, you're right. So we have 1 more then, because we have 2 Lights then, including this one.
It's a lot of Onion Knights.
Yeah. Unfortunately, only this one and the Legend have S abilities, but the S abilities are pretty good. Like,
It's quite restrictive, though, the one on the Legend one. You can only switch into Sage, so that is just the Lightning one, if I remember correctly?
Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
But it can still tutor back the other one for this, to dump a bunch of Onion Knights into these S abilities, right?
Yeah, it can get back this one too, right? It's just has to not be Wind.
It can. Yeah.
All right. Esfer, you want to talk about any of the spoilers?
I think Cloud of Darkness is pretty cool. It's not massively complicated. I think on paper it looks a bit like better as a standalone card than Onion Knight does. It seems like it's librarian, but can attack people. And if RFG becomes an actual strategy, I can see it being pretty good. Like the Sephiroth from chapters where you can bring him back from exile if you sack 3 forwards of the same color. It could be pretty nice with Cloud of Darkness because it gives you another chance to get him RFG'd earlier. Yeah.
I think that this card is... Obviously, you're always going to get at least 1 card back from it. Whether or not that's a good card or not is like just up to the top of the deck, I guess. But I think the biggest problem with this one is that it's a dark forward. Like there are a lot of good dark forwards right now.
It's kind of similar to Galdas if you look at it that way. If you're always going to get a card back, because it's a 3 for 8 effectively that is 1 CP. So that's not that bad.
Yeah.
I think if you pull one in a pre-release, it's going to be pretty fucking nuts.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty fucking good in pre-release too. But I don't know. I don't see us playing this over Veritas, obviously. But it is theoretically quite nice as a Phoenix target in the same way that Galdi's is. I just don't really know what this doesn't do. Because Galdi's has better control.
Because it's when it leaves the field rather than goes to break zone.
Right.
So you could potentially use stuff like Mune to get some pretty serious advantage.
Yeah, it's definitely a better Mune target than like Galdi's is. But and maybe if there's more like Unit H type effects, that might be true, yeah. If Unit H type effects become more prevalent, I could see that.
They're everywhere in America at the moment if you watch the Crystal Cup from yesterday.
Yeah, well, America's its own special little...
Well, I know you mean.
Yeah.
America is a very greedy sort of metagame. So.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Nado, You want to talk about one?
I think we talk more about Vincent. I think Vincent's a weird one, right? Because putting it back up into the break zone is better than like removing it for $4, and removal on a forward is better than just having a big body. But at the same time, am I playing this over Asmodee? Maybe sometimes. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to know. The zoom's pretty good. I wish you didn't have to dull for it, but it is what it is.
I'm not sure if we're playing this over anything, like specifically Asmodee or whatever in Mono Earth, but Earth has notoriously awful 3-drop forwards, and this one's not awful. So I kind of feel like there might be something there. Obviously, Earth has a lot of good heavy backups, like all of their EX backups, including like Rabon or whatever, and then like really light backups that don't matter very much, like Summoner, or like any of their tutors that can be played again after this. So breaking your own backups in Earth is considerably better than in most other elements, I would say, except for Ice.
Yeah, I think it's probably the best backup breaker Earth. Like, I don't like it more than Must Woman, and I like it more than Deleter. It might be good. I don't know. It's one of those ones I think I have to play with, because like you could play in like Earth Lightning, you play like with Fosoya and stuff, but maybe that's too greedy. I don't know.
Might work with Turks, actually, now that you mention it.
Yeah, it could. It definitely could. It also, there's the Biggs Wedge, the old ones. Whenever you dump the Avalanche operative, Barrett deals damage. There could be something there. I'm not trying to like super promote that, but obviously with Barrett, Jesse, Marlene, and stuff like that, you can cycle through a lot of good Final Fantasy VII tribal stuff.
And that Biggs is 1k to board as well when you sack a backup, so that's pretty
Indeed. So you get like 3k plus this.
Plus the 8.
Also, it is a little noteworthy that you can dump Argies, which maybe there's something there. Having more ways to kill your Argies, maybe putting that card into playable territory someday. The only person I've ever seen make it work is Matisk. So,
all right, there's just time now to check in on the weather. That's right, we've got a brand new segment here on the podcast with a brand new member of the podcast. I'd like to introduce everyone to our weather correspondent, Jeff Lossley, host of Uggggh series on Final Fantasy TC Crystal Realm. How's the weather today, Jeff?
My name is Jeff.
Yeehaw! Alright, we're going to move now on to the main event of this podcast. It's Podcat Talk. So Eureka has demanded that we go back to the topic of the Opus 8 meta. We're going to go in sweaty deep, apparently. So strap yourselves in, and Eureka, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, I just had some thoughts on the evolving Opus 8 meta that kind of came in light of a lot of well-known community figures, musings, and what could be considered complaints on the meta. And I just thought it'd be interesting for us to talk about it. I'm a fucking tryhard. But yeah, there's a lot of complaints going around that a lot of cards are the same. You know, like a lot of tribal stuff gets tutors, and a lot of what determines the meta, especially 6 and stuff like that, is just how much support in terms of printed cards and broken abilities that come in the form of, like, if you control X, do X. Like Locke is the prime example of this, but there's other stuff, right? Like Final Fantasy VII now has this with Marlene gets the numbers or whatever, but the Tifa with the cloud, or, you know, stuff like that. And a lot of what determines the meta is just how good these 2 to 3 card combos are. Semi-Civil, Sid Privia plus a tutor backup, that kind of thing. So how do people feel about this? Do people think that it's like a justified complaint? Do people think that that's just the game that we're playing?
No, I think at the moment my main complaint with the meta, well, it's not so much a complaint, but some of the top decks are really uninteractive. Like, if Wind wants to sit there and just tank a load of damage and then just go Valor for Fina, you just die. It's like, oh, okay, cool. You can't really do anything about it. I don't know, it feels like Ice had some things that are similar to counter spells. Maybe we need those a bit more prevalent in the game. I don't know.
Yeah, Celeste and Edward have definitely played pretty huge. I don't like I want to say like defensive line back for like keeping a lot of that off for a pretty long amount of the time. But obviously, you only get a maximum of 4 summon cancels in an entire game if you're playing mono with 3 of each of those cards.
it definitely feels a lot like it's just value engine versus value engine, right? There's so many games where you play and it goes to turn 3, you're like, all right, this is going this way because he drew his bits before I drew my bits. It doesn't even matter what decks you're playing. You can be like, oh, Mono Lightning has a good Mono Water matchup. Yeah, well, if they get their Layla Viking before you see any of your like rigged deer or whatever, it doesn't matter because their engine's up before yours and then you lose the game. And like it still goes for like 20 turns, but none of the turns matter because the start of the game is just they hit their Searcher into their Viking, into their Layla. Then, you know. Same thing with luck, right? Like they see their Edgar into like Sid and then they search luck and you're like, well, like they're ahead because they saw those cards. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing though. I don't know. It does kind of just feel like how the game is going because like everyone said from Opus 5, like, oh, the game's just the same. But it's like Opus 4 wasn't that different. Like we saw different decks, but like the playstyle wasn't like humongously different.
Yeah, I will say that in Opus 4, you kind of had to sage your Lock or your Genesis to really get in there. That's
true. Yeah.
With Edgar and Setzer, you don't have to make that commitment anymore, right? You don't have to run into EX or whatever. You just kind of play the Lock, and you've already come out ahead. You know?
Yeah, like the lines are different, and the game's like evolving, but it still comes down to this whole like the first 4 turns are so brutal, like in every game.
Yep, for sure. I definitely agree. I just thought it was super weird after seeing a lot of these discussions around on Facebook that like, and like I've had a couple of players that I've known for a long time. It's like Opus 3, Opus 2, or whatever, who are like making these same kind of observations, right? Like whatever you do in turns 5 through 9, even though you're alive, doesn't really matter because you lost on turn 2, right? And I just thought it was weird saying this because this is kind of like the same stuff that a lot of the players that I practice with have been thinking since like Opus 2 or Opus 3. I don't know if that means the game has changed and it's gotten worse or if it's just always been like this and the player base is getting better. I don't know.
It feels like I don't want to like call that devs, but like it feels like they're afraid to print like these like unfair like late game like combos and stuff. Like that Illuma Cactuar came sort of like it feels accidentally, right?
100%.
And like Death Machine was sort of like that, and then it actually wasn't. It was like
it definitely wasn't.
Like I understand, like you want to have like a mid-game range game, and I'm fine with that. Like I still enjoy the game, I still enjoy playing it, but it's sort of going to get to a point where it's just here's like 7 mid-range decks that you can take to an event, and all of them will do fine, draw well, you know. Like, edit your numbers from 2 to 3, edit your backups to 15. Like, that's the biggest deal that's come out in the last, like, week, is that JFB won an event with 15 backups, running 3 Miyun.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was the triple Miyun.
The triple Miyun on 15 is crazy, but it is what it is. Like, it worked, right? He dumped forwards, so...
Yeah,
I think he's just better at playing out of bad hands than the average player is.
That's. I think that's been true for a very long time. I have pretty limited testing experience with him, but we tested quite a bit. Like when Opus 5 came out, I don't think he knew it was me, but like that was just like the era when everybody was just randomly testing on Octagon. But he's just better at playing than most people are. Like he knows when he gets the bad hands, and I'm not sure if he just makes crazy decks because I think he can play himself out of whatever those decks do, but he has like these ratios that just don't make sense, in my opinion.
A lot of people have been copying that 15 backup thing though, just like, oh, he's doing it.
So and they're gonna get fucking steamrolled because it's not like that's not how most people play the game.
Softcom for the rest of the format is going to be good.
Yeah.
Especially like 3 Miyun too, right? Like I can see 15 backups with like Noshtalin or whatever and like Weewa maybe, but like, I don't. It's fine.
He loves his Miyun. I can't. I remember playing against some of that at the time too. Not obviously upper or whatever, but there's some Miyun abusal, and how can you fault him too? When you're a good player like that, the day and age becomes like an insane card. Being able to cycle that, being able to cycle, Yuri's, Death Gaze, even just like Cactars for the reduced CP cost, and the cycle.
Yeah,
it's a very interesting card. That's for sure. Apart
from that, like the meta for this set, I don't know. It's weird because all the events have been in such different places, right? Like, the Australian stuff is whatever because it's like a small event. The Europe stuff was just that JFB event, right? That's it so far. Like
Crystal
big,
Cup
like,
Water. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the US one that just happened. Well, the first day just happened, which is
Yeah,
so much Earth, Wind, and Mono Water, which is what you expect to see. Like that's what I saw on stream anyway.
Japan Cup Nagoya as well, which is a very different format. Two deck really
two-deck,
shakes
right?
things up. Yeah, 2-deck with no overlapping cards really shakes things up.
Yeah, but you still saw what was he was playing Ice, Fire, and Earth, Wind here.
I was playing Earth, Wind, and Ice, Fire because he doesn't make whack shit. He's just not into that. Like a lot of the players over here make whack shit, but sorry, Duncan does not make whack shit.
For anybody listening at home, by the way, whack is American for shit.
He's a very talented player, and he's very good at refining lists and making lists out the gate from the set. That Fire Ice list is maybe like 15 cards off from what he had at the very beginning of the set. And most of those are like tech choices, like swapping Selfie for Sages and stuff like that. It's not like huge sweeping changes. He's been playing this deck forever. The Earth Wind is also something that he's playing the same exact list at locals yesterday. It's just he doesn't go out of his way like Sid and Master to make these crazy decks because he's just so good at piloting these ones. And that, but I mean, we saw some other crazy shit besides the first place. You know, like second place is Mono Wind, Chocobos, and Tidus Water with like no Veritas. You know, it's like there's no Veritas used in either of these. You know, and which is pretty crazy if you ask me. There's like double Tidus L with triple Refia, and then there's Icewind Moogle Mill.
What?
Yeah, Icewind. Ozzy saw one with Icewind Moogle Mill as one of his decks. And by the way, the deck is insane. You got to give that a try. It's so cool. And just a normal mono water with one Nidhogg instead of the third Veritas. And Yush just cycled those. And then obviously Alex got fourth or top four or whatever it is. Ozzy and Alex are taking fourth. They don't play it out, but and Alex was playing whack shit too. You know, his
Ice Water was pretty interesting.
His Ice Water is insanely fun. If you've never played a Black Mage cycle deck like that, you should give it a try. It's pretty neat. And obviously, Wind Water is the good old faithful. I think it's 18 EX burst or something like that. That was pretty par for the course.
The Ice Water, at least, like the changes he had to make because of the 2-deck format, isn't even that much. Like he did his. I read through his write-up. He's like, I didn't play Yuna because I was playing in the other deck, and that's pretty much it. And like Gramps instead of Moa, but they pretty much do the same thing. Yeah, I like. Again, though, it's just more mid-range decks, right? Like, it's just what it is. I mean, the mill deck's not so much. There's a lot of mill decks this set, which is interesting.
That's the other thing that I think we need to touch on to really talk about the meta is how do we feel about Riku H as a card? How do people feel about this?
I've legitimately played at least 10 games, no, probably like 20 games just this set, and I haven't even been playing that much, where they get an Archer before I do, and then I lose the game. Because they Archer my
I feel like it feels mandatory if you use it, because if you get locked into some kind of grind game, and they've got Riku and you don't, you might as well just scoop and go game 2.
I won 2 of my games at locals against great players yesterday by milling them out. It's so easy. Yeah, I don't think that it's a healthy card for the game, and I don't think that's an unpopular opinion.
The thing is, like, what else are you sinking 2C?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I don't think that there's obviously not a whole lot of competitively better alternatives that make these kinds of strategies valid, and maybe
it's not exciting. That's a big problem.
Yeah. That's a big problem. Obviously, the tiebreaker stuff makes it kind of seem like bullshit.
Yeah,
which is a relatively minor point compared to the other issues with the card. But like the gameplay experience is not good. The only good thing that I think is that from a design perspective, it opens up like a different strategy where like stall is a pretty relevant strategy.
Yeah, I don't mind stall being a thing. It's just the way Riku does it is not that interesting.
For sure.
It makes it sick pull out, though, I reckon.
Yeah, I bet it does, and I hope we never see it, because that would mean another dumb card that I'd have to get full arts of. I do think that the Moogle way of doing it is considerably better than Sid's way of doing it. Much more consistent, much more powerful. It's the only problem with the deck is that like Sarah getting yeeted by Diablos and Veritas makes the deck way less competitive.
Yeah, that's Sarah's problem forever. But yeah, obviously at the moment that's even more of a problem because there's so much good single target removal sort of stuff.
Yeah, Glacia and Diablos have been problems for that card for since it has existed, and now Veritas just makes it even. Yeah,
Veritas is a fucking card. That's what that is. It's
yeah. What do people think about Veritas? Do people hate it? I hear a lot of complaints about it. Yeah.
I was the only person in Top Cut yesterday with Veritas in the deck, and I think that kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah, that does actually.
Yeah. I don't know that I hate it. I don't like it.
I think it's a bit too good for 6. I'd be happier if it was 7, probably.
I don't think you would see any play at 7.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't.
Because then
I
it's
think being able to play it off like a Star Sybil is a bit bonkers.
Yeah, I do think being able to play it off of Star Sybil is bonkers, but like I would never pay 7 for that card. It just makes it so much harder to play. You have to it's Sephiroth at that point, and obviously Sephiroth isn't fair at 6. But imagine how much worse Sephiroth would be at 6. Like
that'd be fucking horrible.
It'd be awful for like everybody involved, right?
We could turn 1 it really efficiently, just every time.
I don't think it would see any play at 7, or maybe I'm wrong. But like then it's just like you're 2 CP off of Nidhogg, right?
I mean, even I have stopped playing Nidhogg in my list just because after testing Veritas, it does the same thing effectively. It gets rid of stuff that doesn't break, and that's all you need.
You still just build around it, right? Like a lot of people are putting dumb little shit in their decks, like you would for Famfrit when Famfrit was like the biggest deal.
Yeah.
So like,
I've seen the Thornton a couple of times.
Like Veritas. I've seen Thornton in a couple of decks. I've seen like Shara in Mono Win now because you just like kill a Viking or something and then you sack it to the Veritas.
And Potcat's coming back a little bit there, Nado.
Fuck off, Potcat. All right. No need for that card. You can just play Whale. Doesn't matter. Anyway, it's irrelevant.
It's really good when you play both of them, trust me.
That's the other thing too, right? I expected way more monster decks to be a thing. And like I've seen people be like, hey, this is my monster deck, but I haven't seen it like top anything.
Yeah, it's always like for monster decks, people will get out another deck and be like, oh, do you want a friendly after a round? And it's a monster deck. It's like, why has nobody entered the tournament with this? You know?
I think that the big problem with it is it's balanced so finely on like the edge of a knife. And then when Mira gets yeeted by something random, like the deck just doesn't work. It's just so bad. It's so bad without Mira. And like Mira's ability is stuck to a forward. If Mira's ability was on like a monster, even if that monster could be removed.
Monsters. Yeah. That's right.
Then but I mean if it was, then I think the deck would be great, you know. But like Mira coming in and getting Veritas, getting clouded on eating 5k from Glacia or whatever, like the deck just does not function without that card out, and the opportunity cost for making that card work is huge.
Like the Earth Lightning monsters was interesting, but obviously with Death Machine gone, it's dead. And then like the old like tricolor Valifor monsters is really like too slow now, and it's way too easy to disrupt.
And it gets milled out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it does get milled out.
It just gets milled out by most of its good matchups arguably can just mill it out now.
Yeah, because before you could grind games with tricolor monsters, and normally people would mill out.
Yeah, and you get Unit H, which is so good in those Earthwind matchups and stuff. And now like you just get fucked.
Yeah, because there was a period where Earthwind just wasn't running Riku, and now every single one does. So
I don't know. Returning back to Veritas real quick. I think that Veritas has an overall positive effect on the meta. I think that 2 Veritas in most decks kind of makes things feel a little more like you have to run this card. It's the first like real staple we've seen because it's like a light dark card that's just good in like everything. But I think that without it, a lot of like the degenerate turn 1 Zidane strategies and shit would be getting like really out of hand. You know, like
I am really glad it's dark though, man.
Yeah, that's another card though, like Zidane. Like I expected that would make way more like of a splash. It just hasn't.
Well, it seems there's some water fire. It's just so the thing about Zidane is that like the things that support Zidane are haste, right? Specifically like Sage. Obviously Belias is good too, but specifically Sage is like really, really good with that card. And Waterfire just doesn't have anything going for it besides Zidane and Sage.
I think Vivi Phoenix Spam's pretty good in the 9 build.
No, sure, but none of those are like semi-civil. Yeah, it's not semi-civil like Veritas coming in off of the civil. Yeah, it's not like unfair like a lot of or like Locke with Edgar guess that sit up. on turn 2, right? It's like it's not on those levels.
You've got with the Zidane as well, with him being 3k power rather than 4k, he just dies if the opponent plays Wall. Like if you've swung and hasted Zidane turn 1, they just go, cool, Wall, go to battle phase, 3k pass, and you're behind.
Yeah.
Well, the Zidane broke even and they had to play the Wall. I don't think it's like a really behind thing, but like that's your like your number one power open loses to a Wall. So yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
A Wall not even doing anything either.
Yeah.
Like I've had a bit of success with Mono Water with Zidane, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just wins games, dude.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, I know.
Which is why I actually hate Zidane way, way more than Veritas.
I guess Veritas doesn't often just win games, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, Zidane with no answer, he hits you twice. You're like, well, like I'm on the back foot for the rest of this game. Like
Especially
maybe
you
I'm
get fucking solution 9'd afterwards as well. Jesus Christ. You finally put an answer down, they just go, minus 15k. It's like, this is fine.
At the beginning of the set, I played a Mono Water Una-L Zidane with like just a bunch of bouncers, like Leviathan 1, Alexander 1, and my god, you win a lot of games like that. It's just like, you just hit him with Zidane and then it's unblockable for the rest of the game.
There was a lot of games, If I was not playing against like Lightning or Ice Fire, I would just like slam Zidane turn 1 and be like, okay, how are you answering this? Especially against like Mono Wind, unless they're running Velafor, they have to like drop Fina, and then you're like, okay, well that's fine. Like I have a fan for it, so I guess at the end of it, right? Like I don't have a like problem with how the game is going. I just think 10 sets in, if it's still the same, like are we still going to be playing it as much as we do now?
Hell yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, so let's do one of these real quick. What does everybody want to see as a change? Like, do you want them to print like a different kind of card, or do you want them to adjust the power level? Do you want to see new formats?
I know Nix is going to take a massive shit on me for saying this, but I really want to see stuff that revolves around RFG. I really liked when like Macro Monix was a thing, like way back in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just an interesting deck. Sure. I wouldn't mind seeing something, not something that's like fully exiled, but something that interacts a little bit with RFG. I think would be cool.
I honestly just want more sort of late game oriented decks that actually work, and none of them do. Unless you're running Riku H at the moment, none of them really do.
Yeah, and boss monsters that don't fucking die to Diablos. Diablos is
well, even that,
horrible.
I don't mind, right? Like if you have a big bomb and you get fucked on by Diabolus, well, unlucky. Like you should have played around it, I guess. Or
I just think it makes the late game a bit more interesting if you don't have to play around 3 Diablos in every fucking day.
Yeah, but you can like force that, right? Like you can play enough.
I will say that there are basically 2 late games in this game, and like states of what a late game can look like. And it's one player absolutely shitting on the other because they've turned the corner, and nothing that they can do matters. They just got to take an extra 10 turns to close out the game. The flip side of that, which is both players are just playing off the top, and neither of those are particularly. I mean, I don't want to say they're not skillful, but like they're way past the point of where all of the things that mattered happened, and the game just doesn't end for a long time. And I think that is kind of problematic. Yeah, I
agree with that. But yeah, I think they could print things to like circumvent that.
Close games, yeah.
Like I don't need like alternate win cons or anything. Just like more detailed decision making. Like that you can like take a game turn 1 and be like, all right, I'm against Mono Water. Yeah, they're gonna dump on me for like 12 turns, but if I can do this and this and this and then. You know, I don't know. I've played Control in like every card game I've played, so maybe that's why I'm biased. But just something that like rewards you for thinking more turns ahead, as opposed to I need to slam my value dudes as quick as they do. So,
but what about though, to spice up the metagame? Hashtag bring back Thaumaturge and Gesper. Just saying. Sick.
I'm okay with aggro existing. It's fine. Maybe not Gesper.
I would say
no Gesper. Or make it unique.
If we bring back a Gesper, like put a 1 of on the Gesper, or like make it a unique monster, because 2 Gespers a turn is not fair. It's just like it's not
Gesper
fair.
and Scale Toad would be fucking horrible.
Yeah, I do think that Thaumaturge can come back. I definitely feel like Thaumaturge is probably fine.
Any cards.
Yeah, and I do not think that Earthwind will just get dumpstered on by that deck, so I don't feel bad for knocking Earth down a peg by bringing back Thaumaturge. Just fuck Gesper. That card is not okay. Personally, the thing that I would like to see a little bit more of is something that does like a light dark card that does more than just trade CP, because right now, like, the only light and dark, we have Uni-L, granted, but like light and dark cards right now, basically, like the ones that see play are like Galdi's, Camelot, Zodiark,
Fucking Yuri.
Veritas. Yeah, fucking Yuri. They're just big CP trades and CP dumps, and like Yuri isn't particularly interesting after you've played like 2 games with it. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion, but it's very, very not interesting to play with Yuri, in my opinion.
I don't think anyone plays Yuri because they think they're like having the most fun. I think they're playing it because it's good, right? Like it just does stuff.
He's a Swiss Army knife. Yeah, he does everything.
Yeah, but that's the big one. I think there needs to be like good light and dark cards that do other things, like unconventional things, unique things. I think right now a lot of the legends that are good are just good removal or good summon cancel, like Diablos Initial obviously being like the 2 big ones there, or they're just good, not because they're unique, but they're just like slightly overstated, or they trade CP really well, or they have high value. They're very not interesting. And I think like good examples of interesting legends that we've seen recently are like Rain. Rain's a very interesting, or Yuna. Yeah, I mean, yeah, fuck Rain. But like, I've never once like looked at Rain and thought like this card is soloing me. Obviously,
but it can do that to some decks. If it comes down early enough.
It can. I think cards like Alua are very well designed. Like fuck that card, but it's a very well designed card.
Yeah.
Uni-L is very Alba. Uni-L is very interesting in terms of another light example. The Onion Knight Legend was one of my most... I was super excited to see that because it was so unique, and then it was just fucking like dumpster tier, so bad, and I was really sad that they never printed more support in the form of like Ninja, Job.
Favorite card design right now is probably Jinai. I mean, that's like super interesting. It's a way that back attack is actually usable. I wouldn't say relevant, but it's thematically awesome. It can ping down maybe 2 guys if they're weenie rushing you. It's just a nice card.
Yeah,
more stuff like that, please.
Yeah, I want to see more stuff like that, and I want to see it at a higher power level, because right now, whenever they make a relatively unique card, it's usually fucking like dumpster like power levels.
Yeah.
Like
Tidus was close. Tidus was close.
But like against that, like Garland's really good, and I think it's pretty like an interesting effect. Like the new Garland. Yeah. But you're right. Like there's a lot of just legends that are just just doesn't like Sakura, right? Like it's not interesting. It's not thematically on point. It's just like it's a 5-drop forward removal. There's a lot of stuff like that. Like Locke isn't really that interesting anymore after 4 fucking sets of playing this. 5 sets now, I guess. 5 sets of playing with Locke. It's not very interesting anymore. It's just a 3 CP bundle of stats that trains a bunch of stats.
Yeah, it's on curve and has a good auto. There you go. That's what you really need, isn't it?
Yeah, Lena. A lot of like the best Sephiroth, Legend Sephiroth, Cloud of Darkness, Puja. Yeah, I mean it's great card. It's a really good card, but they're so not interesting. Oh
yeah, it's really boring.
Yeah,
like Shadow Flare is probably the most interesting thing about him.
Yeah,
but you can't do anything outside of the main phase with it, which stifles a lot of the cool plays you could do with it.
Sephiroth is just, sometimes he just dumps on people. Like, you play Sephiroth and you Shadow Flare. No, cool, I won. But he's not that interesting.
Duncan.
And like Minwu, right? Like Legend Minwu is an interesting card, but it's not.
It's dumpster tier,
exactly.
Yeah. So. It was so hype when it was like spoiled though. I was like, oh man, there's going to be some really good deck building around this. And then it's just like, but why wouldn't you just play like, just have a brave attacker that goes through every turn.
Yeah,
that happens every set, though, right? People are like, "Oh, this is great." I'm like, "Yeah, but how are you attacking with?" Like,
it happened with Gladio. Fucking Gladio was like, "Oh my god, a 2 CP 9K. What the fuck?" And Boy Band just turned out to be like niche at best.
No, fuck Boy Band. Fuck Boy Band. Like 3 people have knocked this against me. I hate that.
Boy Band Podcat meta. Nato confirmed.
Fucking hell.
Choyoji has put up some pretty good results with it, but like even he's the biggest fan of like Mono Earth you could ever find, right? But even he says like, I don't think the deck's really that good. It's like you mostly get carried by like the fact that Earth is just good at power stacking, and then Veritas.
It's just big boring potatoes, isn't it? Really?
Yes.
That was a Magic Pot 3 Veritas deck, yeah.
And then after they figured out that the exit the battle, or the enter the break zone effects of the Veritas put in on Magic Pot resolves before the enter the field effects of the Veritas coming in, the deck got like that combo specifically got like way worse, because if your opponent has 2 forwards, they can just sack their other forward, and the Veritas coming in just is blank. It just doesn't do anything. Yeah.
But if you have 3 forwards,
yeah. I definitely thought that deck would suffer from having like 6 Noctis more than it actually does. It doesn't
because
really.
Warp Strike is also stupid good.
Yeah.
Is that the 2-drops S?
Yes.
Yeah. Just play 1 S, break a monster.
Yeah, no, fuck that, dude. I was playing Calbrenna and some guy like Noctis all my Calbrennas. Feel bad.
Yep, it's gross.
Yeah.
Like, I really like the 2-drop Noctis, and I would look forward to build like a proper tribal deck where almost every card in the deck's FF50. I think that could be really cool.
Just make it top 5 and I'll hate it less, to be honest. I don't even care when it hits. I'm upset that it hits on top 2.
Yeah.
I've never hit it, if that makes you feel better. Like, I took it
to be honest.
practiced on this field, and I've never hit it.
I played the deck at a locals one time, and I hit it every time. It's so good. It's so good.
It's so frustrating, because you look at that deck afterwards, you're like, okay, you're playing like 15 FF15 cards. All right, I played 15 monsters with Realm and I miss. It's whatever. It's fine. Like, it's not a bad balance issue or anything. But
then you go play friendlies afterwards and you never hit it. So it's it all balances out in the end. You got to save the luck for when it matters, you know?
Yeah. Fuck Noctis. That's the end. That's all I need to say. Yeah, meta's garbage because people play Noctis. But I don't know. What other legends is there that's good? Good ones? Interesting ones? Dark Fina? I don't think anyone's explored that enough.
Dark Fina will be good one day. She's not good now.
She's very interesting, and obviously she's very powerful, right? It's just like, she costs 7, but she doesn't have she doesn't buy back the value of the Sephiroth brings back. Like, that's just kind of what it comes down to. And they're in the same fucking color, which makes it way worse in my opinion, right? Because it's kind of like getting face. Yeah, right, exactly. And so, like, there's just no way that card is ever going to see play in mono without something incredibly broken going on there, because there's no reason for it. Yeah. And there's no way that she's going to see play in a 2-color deck, because any 2-color deck is just going to be better served playing mid-range at this point. So, I mean, there's obviously some Dark Fina, Phoenix, Fire Ices, but those are pretty much disappearing in favor of like multiple Veritas with better removal and or Sephiroth, Renoa, stuff like that.
I've seen a little bit of Dark Fina and like Earth Wind and like greedier lists, but yeah, it's still not like, it's not built around her.
Yeah, JFB played one a while back.
He said he was going to drop it, I think, in his write-up for it.
Yeah, I think he should. It's pretty bad, but but yeah,
I think if we get something more interesting than Phoenix, it could be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Right? It's only Phoenix, and you have to draw the Fina before the Phoenix and also go to 5.
Yeah,
like playing it and then just playing the summon for free isn't that impactful. Like you just play
Phoenix at that point, surely. You know,
like you still get a 9K body, but like you also drop another. It's not that relevant.
Like, yeah, it's a 9K body, but you've got plenty of 9K good bodies in Ice already with like Kuja, Orphan, Sephiroth, or 8K. But you know,
a lot of the time the problem is that when you're doing it, you're already losing, and you don't really want to be losing. There's just like a problem. That's like a problem when you only have 50 cards in a deck, right?
You probably can't burn 7 CP if you're losing as well.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, one thing though, one legend I thought was going to be super hype this set and wasn't. Aerith has been kind of just a blank 7K in my local meta. I don't know if it's been the same for you guys. It's not been very exciting at all. I mean, I don't know if it's fucking people over and they're maybe just not showing it. They're not playing cards. But I feel like Wind's still just like a cool Yuri down, blank Aerith, blow you out anyway. And it's like, cool.
It depends on
Yuri just doesn't care.
Yeah, it definitely never feels like...
It doesn't feel bad, but it doesn't feel sick. It doesn't feel like Minwu back up.
It's no Yashula, right? It's no Yashula, that's for sure. I think that it is a very resilient forward in its own right, which is kind of important for the mill, like the Sid 3-color mill or the Moogle mill and stuff like that. It fits very well into those kinds of things. It doesn't really fit very well into the Earth Wind that everybody's playing. It doesn't really fit in a Mono Wind all that well. It's okay, but like that deck has always been super low on slots, you know. So it's I wouldn't say it's falling flat. It's just that those kinds of effects aren't incredibly relevant right now. Like Fire Ice, like the premier thing, has like Sid Reigns and Duncan, and doesn't do any of the chip damage in with the whole deck.
Well, it stops Laswell, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I like when it was revealed, I thought Aerith was going to be the best legend in the set, and I was wrong. But
Yeah,
like,
exactly the same.
Yeah, I fucked around with Earthwind on it with like 3 Phoenix and Diabolos and stuff for like 3 activates. But it's still good. But yeah, it's not like crazy game breaking or anything.
It's not like printing an article in a major magazine about how it's the best card in the fucking game.
Yeah.
That was really awkward.
I think that obviously one of the big contributing factors is that if you put an Aerith down and then hope to like build your board after that, a lot of the time you just get Veritas to activate your backups and then just get the turn pass back to you and do nothing, and it was just a 5 mana CP sink, like including the card, and Veritas just wiped it off the table, and now you gotta take down the Veritas, and even if you Diablos the Veritas, you gotta sack a backup, and it's just really awkward a lot of the time. So like, a lot of the time,
at 7, that's the most important part to me about the card.
Do you think then if like Veritas wasn't printed this set that Aerith would be better?
Yeah, I think it'd be way better. And I think
if Daddy Cack was still a thing, like a big thing, it would be fucking sick.
I think Daddy Cack would be a way bigger thing instead of just something that's kind of tacked on to Earthwind now because you can.
Just put it in, don't you?
Yeah, you just can now. But that deck doesn't need it anymore. It's just like an alternate win con a lot of the time.
Yeah.
so we do it.
Just rezzing Veritas and spamming it for the whole fucking game.
Yeah. How many Veritas can you minor? Sick.
Yeah. It's if Veritas isn't there, I think Aerith is a much better choice a lot of the time, but than a lot of the other tech cards that we're playing instead. But like Zidane H and Yashola take up win 3 slot, and Zidane H is like the best fucking card, like one of the best cards right now, I'm pretty sure, because it eats up the Veritas, it knocks off usually something pretty core to the game plan. Like you can take an elemental boost, like a Waka versus water is fucking huge, obviously.
Well, you can fuck the curve player and like dodge Shantoto and shit. It deals with basically anything in the game as long as you play it before they play that through. Yeah, it's the best removal if you think of it that way.
Yeah, and you can take their Zidane Age, which is so good, honestly. Or like their Sephiroth, their Flan. It's just like it's an all-purpose answer, and it's so good when you can slam it after like a semi-Sybil or off of three backup curve. There's like no better play most of the time. Even if you go to 5 backups, it's not always better than just slamming Zidane Age. Yeah, it's so good.
Card's pretty crazy.
I think that's part of why we see Mune too, because when you Mune back the Zidane Age and then play it again, like it's like the double groan. Like the Mune came in for free and you got to play it again. Just for like the one extra CP.
You upgrade to the for fuck's sake when you have to show your hand second.
Yeah. That card should have been the legend. I'll tell you what. We had some shitty win legends back then.
Should have had the better art as well. The art on it I really don't like.
They ripped it straight from the chapters art, because that was a light card, by the way. I don't know if you know that. Right. That was a light card in chapters. Not
was
good.
It the same card, like the same fact.
I think it had an extra 1,000 power. It was 4K and went to 8K at the same.
Thank you.
Let's bring that in. Yeah, fuck yeah. Now it's a buff.
And it's a light card, so like play it in every deck.
Hey, that's your interesting light card you're asking for.
Yeah, that wasn't a very interesting one. If I wanted to light card after it would be Garnet.
No Garnet allowed.
The Garnet that must never be printed.
That is the Garnet that must never be printed. I guess to wrap it up, a lot of us are not upset with the state of the meta, but I think we kind of feel like there is some wasted potential. I think that might be...
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
It's very decided by the mulligan at the moment, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Not so much matchup, but more did I open the nuts.
I've mulliganed so many 1 backup hands now, and like 2 sets ago, I'd be like, 1 backup, that's good enough. Now I'm like, wow, this isn't good enough. I'll fucking lose. So
I feel that sentiment. I'll keep 1 backup and a Zidane going first, though, I'll tell you what.
But not every deck can play Zidane, okay?
Yeah.
All the good ones.
Yeah, I mean, if you're good, you're probably... So I'll say that you can probably play Zidane. So.
Yeah, that's true.
You can only play Zidane in one of your decks in 2-deck format, though, so I'll have to give you that one.
So that's the way forward.
Just run the other Zidane in the other one. Sorted. Not as good, but,
It's okay. When rotation comes, that Zidane will be gone, right? No worries. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
is that something people want? Yeah.
Drop
big
1
announcement on the 15th. Do you think that is going to be rotational balanced or anything like that?
Nah.
I doubt it.
Huh?
I do not think so. I definitely don't think that they will announce it before, like anything that huge, before like before something like a season ends, like maybe mid Master Season or maybe like after Worlds.
Yeah,
I could see it
At the end
after
of this year,
Worlds.
yeah.
They'd
But
be
like,
here's Opus 10. You played Opus 10 for Worlds. All right, now 1, 2, and 3 are gone.
I think yes, it's time to like just strip out a few of the older stuff because seeing Shantato everywhere, seeing Riku H everywhere is just a bit not even bad or unfair. It's just a bit boring.
don't even get me started on Uno 1779.
Yeah, I that card doesn't see much play. I've never seen that card on a field.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, except
So-
for every
so-
game where it's turn 1 Uniriku pass. Great.
Yeah.
If they did implement rotation, hypothetically speaking, how many sets do you think that they should rotate out?
Well, I was thinking, what, Jesus Christ. We're just going to play new Vincent, nothing else.
Yeah, that's it, man.
I was thinking first 4, but now since that new Wraith and Knight has Opus 4 cards in it, I'm thinking first 3, I guess.
Well, I'm pretty
I'd be
sure
happy first two, I Get rid of Adea to make Lightning a bit more interesting.
You don't want to
way-
get rid of 3? 3's got Zidane, man. You can get that out of my fucking game.
Yeah, I would like to see
What?
them erase 4 and then allow cards reprinted in that deck to be used. Like that just makes
Okay,
a lot of
yeah,
sense
sure.
to me.
I can get behind that.
Yeah. Well, they've done that with the commons and stuff, haven't they? Like Chaos Walker and shit like that.
Yeah, but those are like hard reprints though. As like they have a serial number in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think.
For example, if they rotate, they could go, well, this deck can't function with, say, we can't function without Alcid. Let's reprint Alcid in the new set so that the deck can still exist.
Maybe I would not choose Alcid as the for.
It's the only thing of that.
So yeah,
I
maybe
didn't want to say unit because cards
yeah,
unfair. So
maybe Onion Knight R to give the new the old legend that's being reprinted in the set.
yeah, all right, cool. That makes sense.
Yeah, Target, but maybe not Alcid. Not on my list of historically fair cards, but
No, I would like to see Alcid go. I really hate playing Mono Lightning because it's like, cool, I hope I draw the Alcid the turn after they play it forward and don't.
yeah.
It's not
I
fun.
think that kind of sums up Veritas, right? It's kind of like a one card Alcid a lot of the time.
Yeah. And then you're like,
Then you can't
I hope
even
that
play
hurt
it.
Veritas or my Veritas, because if they go second, I lose the Veritas trade.
Yeah, but then you get the third Veritas, and it's all.
Then you win. Yeah. Sick.
Big
That's
brain.
actually I asked. That's why he played 3 Veritas, because when his Veritas gets Veritas, he wants to be able to Veritas them again.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's why he played 3. He's like,
That's
I just want to Veritas again. Like,
Can we get him on the podcast? He sounds fucking crazy.
I mean, yeah, he's a cool guy. He's a very cool guy.
Yeah, if there was rotation, I'd say 3. I don't know what's in 4, right? All the 6 stuff.
I want them to
Dataluma.
get rid of 4 as well. I want Dataluma gone. I want Cactar out of my games.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
4's got a lot of that stuff.
yeah.
Okay, sure.
I think Dataluma is not the offender. I tend to think that Cactar
Cactuar.
is the offender.
He's Cactuar,
Yeah.
100%.
But a lot of people
Dataluma-
think that Dataluma is the offender. But I don't
Dataluma in a
think so.
bubble is actually quite an interesting forward. Like,
Yeah,
you can't really
indeed.
trade into him with anything less than a 12k. He's not a problem on his own. And I think, like, if you have to use Semi to ping him, that's fair removal because they're
Yeah,
then
or-
paying 6 CP to get rid of an 8k, which is the same as Nact. Or no, it's slightly cheaper than Nact, but more setup.
Yeah.
Or
I would be
Pelennor.
happy if Cactuar went.
Yeah,
yeah,
Pelennor.
exactly.
Yeah, sure.
I'd be happy if Cactuar went.
Yeah, first 4, I'm okay with that.
I'd like to see Jill 2, Riku H, Vanille. Like a lot of those cards can just be gone.
No,
All
Jill
of
2 needs to
the
stay forever.
elemental
Forever.
boosters. All of the elemental boosters, Una H, all of those can just get out. A Cosmos Chaos can just get out of my game. I think it'd be a much more interesting if we had different ways of producing multicolor and more incentives to make 2-color, 3-color decks.
I
Yeah,
think,
Shot is a step in the right direction.
I think though,
Agreed.
if they do that, like the sets that they have, like 9 and 10 have to be really on point if they're going to rotate on those ones. Because 5 through 8, people are just going to revert back to, this is the good cards. I'm going to play like Wind Water still probably. I just don't play YRP.
Yeah, you just run Yuri Chalinka, don't you?
Yeah.
And then whatever value engine gets them online the quickest.
Yeah, but you gotta get the Yuri Linka up to 5 backups to be really that good, right?
Yeah, we still have
Yeah.
Stalin.
She's Notion FFCC.
There's no deck that's not losing something pretty damn significant, though. And I
that's
think
From Boy Band.
I just think if you want to keep the game interesting, 9 and 10 have to be like on point
Yeah.
in terms of interesting.
yeah, for sure.
And maybe they're going in that direction. Like, there's not a boring spoiler that we read out today, I don't think. Like they're all pretty interesting.
No,
cards.
yeah. I mean, even Vincent's pretty mundane, but he's still you can do stuff with it.
He can break a backup, which is more than most of the game can do.
Yeah.
So I just realized if we get rid of 4, we also nuke Fat Chocobo, which can get right out of my game as well. So.
Fat Chocobo is immune is totally fair. Just
that,
to let you know.
I don't know. They have to clarify how that works with the heroes and heroes versus villains thing. Then I guess because Fat Chocobo is printed in that, so would it be allowed?
But it doesn't have new numbers, right? So
that's true. I don't know how that works. They wouldn't want players buying their most recent product and then not being able to use it though. So we'll have to see.
If they rotate after 10, it'd be what, January next year? When's Worlds normally? It's like a late.
November.
Just after the Winter Cup or before?
Yeah. Usually just after, pretty sure. Yeah.
Oh,
it's before,
it's before because
right?
Hancock's was world champion when I went to Winter Cup.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so November-ish. So they could announce the rotation
because
coming with Opus 11. Okay. So you could be like, 11's coming out in March or whatever, and also you can't play 1, 2, and 3 anymore in standard or whatever they call the formats.
What do you think about the meta?
If you don't think I see that you want to rotate out all of the Zero class cadets apart from Rem, I'm not blind.
Oh right. Shit, yeah, they're all
What if they just reprint that starter, you know?
If they just print more Zero class cadets that are good, I'm fine with it. Honestly, rotate them all out. Apart from Queen S, I want Queen S, I love her.
They just print a bunch of like busted cadets when rotation comes, so like only in Legacy.
I'm fine with it. Absolutely fine with it.
Sick. The fucking wild equivalent of FF is just cadets versus cadets. I'm okay with that.
Do we think that rotation is better than a ban list?
100%.
Yeah, I agree. That's obviously not everybody's thing, though.
I think especially if we're having to ban cards just because they're good at casual like locals rather than major events. I don't think that's a great. It's fine, but I don't necessarily want a ban list that's just filled with cards that are not ran at competitive games. It just feels really weird.
Yeah, you don't want a ban list with like Minwoo because someone at locals likes to play Wind Lightning, right? It's like the only card game that I've played long enough for this to be, apart from Hearthstone, it doesn't really count. So I think I prefer rotation than like a ban list. Like other games that I've played when I've come in, they've already had a rotation or a ban list. I've never like come in at the start. So I think rotation's better. I don't want to have to go look at a ban list every time I want to make a deck.
Well, ban list as well is like, ban list can be like, I've just spent 90 quid on this playset of, say, Genesis back in Opus 3 or whatever, and it suddenly goes banned, like with no prior warning, that kind of thing.
I've heard terrible stories about
it. It doesn't feel good in Yu-Gi-Oh, I'll tell you that.
You buy, like, I can imagine the is buying into the game, and they buy 3 Totos, and then ban list announced next day, and they're like, I just wasted $80, and then they get hella pissed.
But it's not bad if it's rotation because you've got X amount of sets or X amounts of months left.
Yeah.
Which is a bit fairer on investment.
I do think that they would just stop supporting an eternal format. Like, there's no way that all of a sudden, 4 sets would just disappear and then nobody would be using them ever, right? I think there would be an eternal format and a rotation format. Maybe the eternal format someday gets a ban list. I don't know.
I mean, I think if you look at like Yu-Gi-Oh versus Pokemon, you're paying like 300 to 600 for a Yu-Gi-Oh deck, and then they go, okay, bye, and then you go, okay, well, I got to pay 300 to 600 for a meta deck again, and it's just they never ban any. Well, they never rotate anything out. So then suddenly, like, this really old card becomes amazing, and then it's like, well, how long till this gets banned? And it's just not. I don't think it's a great way to do it.
I've never really played Yu-Gi-Oh that I've played it with friends or whatever. But I've heard stories of them being like, yeah, the set came out 2 days before our Worlds qualifying event, so we all had to buy 4 boxes, and then the day after the event, half of it's banned. Like all the good cards or whatever.
No, that sounds right. Yeah,
that's right. So shitty. That's so shitty.
That happened for many YCSs.
They've limited cards before sets have even come out. Like they've stuck stuff on like the restricted list before the sets even released.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
What's his name? Makura the Destructor, the one that let you play traps from your hands. He was limited when he got spoiled.
Yeah, well,
as far as I remember,
that's not a fair card. There are other slightly fair cards, including like Sixth Sense and shit like that have had
Makura
limitations.
Couldn't come off now, though.
No, it cannot. That card can never come off.
They're just errata and everything now, and then putting it off the ban list because it's shit.
Yeah, they errata. Yeah, they're like the errata and Chaos Emperor and shit like that. Yeah,
I think that's probably enough.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
that's a lot.
A fire deck living in bad card design poverty is still a fire deck, but without nutritious card development, it will never be strong enough to realize its potential and dream. Never capable of breaking from the shackles of not having good cards, without clean, safe, strong card design, you'll forever be forced to feel the sting of defeat and stomach pains from not having a lunch break at tournaments because you can never win anything. Unless you have no money to buy food, you can show the compassion needed to help fire decks overcome this hardship. For just $999,999 a month, you can help make a good fire card become a reality. Yes, by sponsoring a good fire card today, you'll watch as your fire deck gets you one good card and wins you at least one more game in every 17 to 500 you play. Sign up today and help make fire great again. Podcast is happy to announce its first ever meet and greet. That's right, in collaboration with Bushy Road and Final Fantasy TCG, will be live at the Final Fantasy TCG Bushy Road Springfest in Cardiff, taking place on June 22nd and 23rd. At the event, you can play 4 new exciting variants of Final Fantasy TCG. Final Fantasy TCG Vanguard Standard, Final Fantasy TCG Vanguard Premium, Final Fantasy TCG Buddy Fight, and Final Fantasy TCG Vice Swords. A whole whopping 1 member of the podcast will be there, judging live and live. I'm not going to give any details away, but it's me. Due to the nature of my business, it'll be a mobile meet and greet. So what do you have to do to access it? Just go up to any of the judges on the day, between rounds please, and say, I love the pot. Then just hope that you find me. If you do, for the low price of £89.99, I'll sign almost within reason any one thing, if I can be bothered. Come once again to the end of the podcast, so it's time to introduce everyone. Your host for today is me, Yo. Our co-host was Yusufa, co-host Nado, co-host Eureka, our weather correspondent, Jeff Lossley, our first guest, 10, and our other guest, Zelon. Guests, how? Alright, it's time to sign off with our iconic and signature saying. Nani the fuck did omae just imasu about Watashi Uchisai bitch desu ka? Watashi will have Anata know that Watashi graduated top of Watashi no class from Nihongo 3 and Watashi been involved in Ira na Nihongo tutoring sessions. And Watashi have over 300 perfect test scores. Watashi am trained in kanji and Watashi is Ichiban letter writer in all of Southern California. Anata are nani monai to Watashi but just another weeaboo. Watashi will kuroso Anata the fuck with vocabulary the likes of which is Sumona and I been mimasud boron kono continent mark Watashi fucking kotabas. Anata thinks Anata can get away with hanashimasing that kuso to Watashi over the interneto. Oh my again fucker. As boku tachi hanashimasu Watashi am contacting Watashi no secret neto of otakus across the USA and Anata no IP is being traced right now, so Anata better junbi shimasu for the ame ujimushi, the ame that kurosu, the pathetic chisai thing Anata calls Anata no jinsei. You're fucking shinshimasu Aka-chan. Bye.
Fuck's sake.
Did we get through a whole podcast without Nado threatening to bomb a whole country?
I told Hobby Japan that I would bomb Japan again.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say shit translation.
Nobody gives a fuck about the non-Zero Cadets card.
Nick's is going to take a massive shit on me.
What?
What?
I can feel that.